Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations Around Cultural Heritage, a podcast from our project Transition, where we talk about the challenges of working with heritage of diverse communities. I'm Ana Carvalho, and today our guest is Dlshad Marf, a professor at the University of Sulaimani in the Kurdistan Region of Iraq, also an archaeologist with many years of fieldwork experience. In this conversation, Marf discusses the threats facing archaeological heritage, also the challenges of representing minority communities in university curricula, and the need to rethink how we teach heritage to foster greater inclusion and collaboration. So let's get started. Welcome, Dlshad. You have been researching the archaeological heritage of the Kurdistan region of Iraq for many years. Could you tell us about one site, one example you find particularly significant for you, and explain why it matters?
Thanks for this podcast. It's already 26 years in the field of archaeology. And I started my fieldwork with many foreign and local teams. Also, some of the fieldwork was done by me with my local colleagues. So one of the interesting discovery that we did was discovering the columns of the long-lost temple of Musasir. It was a holy city, the most holiest city in the mountain north of Mesopotamia and the Zagros mountain, near the triangle border of Turkish, Iraq, Iran, but inside the Iraqi Kurdistan. So we discovered the column bases, and we announced the discovery later in 2014 at the moment when ISIS destroying the shrines, temples, mosques, churches of Nineveh. So this discovery was a good news in the dark age of Mesopotamia. So this was one of the great discovery that we did. And that temple also faced similar destruction by the Assyrian in the late 8th century BC, exactly in October 714 BC, when Sargon of Ashur, the Assyrian king, looted the treasure of the temple and the statue of the deities. So that story was one of the most interesting discovery that we did.
And based on your experience, what are the main threats facing archaeological heritage in the Kurdistan region today, apart from war and conflict, of course?
Unfortunately, not only Iraqi Kurdistan, the entire Middle East, the archaeological sites, museum, because of the already half-century conflicts, and especially in the last 20 years, under the threat. But for Kurdistan, the situation a little bit safer than the other regions in the Middle East now, but still there are threats. The threats we can say are two. Because of the war, unfortunately, there is no budget for restoration preservation. So the natural threat is for the monuments, architecture, heritage houses, heritage buildings, synagogues, churches, mosques. All these things are castles in the mountains. These are, unfortunately, there is no budget for restoration. Very few restoration done inside the city, in the old towns, downtowns of the ancient cities, and which are now surrounded by the modern urbanism. So this is one of the threats, natural threat, but because of there is no budget for the restoration because of these conflicts. And the other thing are looting and also destruction because of the war. Not only, of course, not all the Kurdistan region of Iraq, southern Kurdistan, under the control of the Kurdish authorities and the KRG. So there are other parts of Kurdistan which are faced real conflicts, destruction of the war, also ISIS attacked on these regions. For example, in Sinjar, when the Yazidi people community, religious community live, the shrines, also the minarets of the mosques, many things been blasted. So these are the threats. And because of these unrests, we have our threat, which are looting. So the looters, the main looters, which are, we can call it mafia or black market of archaeology, who are supporting looting when the conflict exists. So main looters encouraging local people, also foreign people, to come, especially at the borderland, to dig the shrines, archaeological sites, tales, and also ancient castles. So these are also the other threats. But luckily now in Kurdistan we have 3 departments of archaeology, and new young generation in the last 26 years, which we had for the first time archaeology department, and first graduation, I was in the first group of the first graduation. We graduated in 2004. So now we have more than 500 archaeologists, and part of them, because of the financial risk, employed, but they try to recover and also cover the threats of, So weekly, they have to follow up the outside the cities, the borderlands, also the heritage buildings, the threats on the heritage building. And sometimes there are very few budget for the buildings and the risk of the collapse, something like this. Yeah.
And when having some budget and thinking about the practice of preservation, what approaches or methods have you found most effective when it concerns for protecting and preserving this heritage?
Yeah, luckily there was just like after 2007, for a couple of years before ISIS arise, there were some budget for restoration. So, for example, one of the oldest and biggest bridge in Iraq, located in Iraqi Kurdistan, Zakho town. So that was restored and still preserved well. And also a couple of heritage houses in the cities, especially in Erbil and Sulaimani. And Erbil, as you know, it's ancient Erbil, and also now it's in the list of the World Heritage, is considered as the oldest city continuously inhabited for around 7,000 years. So the citadel, part of the buildings being restored under the supervision of UNESCO. Yeah.
And in Project Transition, we talk about minority communities and heritage from minority communities. And from your experience, how have been minority communities themselves involved in efforts to protect their heritage? And how do you see the balance between external interventions, either academic, institutional, or international projects, and the role of communities, minority communities, in preserving their own heritage?
Yeah. Before we say this point, something about the cultural heritage, we have to say that the Kurdistan region of Iraq, now it's the safest place for the minorities, and also for the groups who are under threat of genocide, anything like this. For example, we have a Kurdish town, Duhok. The population is 1 million, but the refugees who are living in this city and in the surrounding camps are 1.5 million. So there is no city in the world like this. So the Christians who escaped from Nineveh when ISIS attacked the city, the Yazidis who faced genocide from Sinjar, the Syrian people from the dictatorship, so the Iraqis from the sectarian war between Shia and Sunni sects. So all these people who escaped, most of them came to Kurdistan. So it's a safe haven for the minorities. And beside this, in Kurdistan, we have 7 minorities, which are Yazidis, KK, and also the Christians. And before that, until 1951, the Jewish community, strong Jewish community, Kurdish Jewish community were there, but they left the country. And then also we have Sabili, we have Muslim, we have different sects of the Christian sects, and also different Sunni groups. We have also Kurdish, the majority, Turkmen, and also Arab. So Armenian. So it's a mosaic, and everybody living peacefully. And from the program of the primary schools, we have books, a special program book for describing the minorities, their community, their daily life, their rituals, their holidays. So every children familiar with this. So for the school, for university, everything we have it. So this is one of the good points. Besides this, we have students who studied with us archaeology from the Christian Yazidi minorities. So KK minorities. So all of them, they did their master and PhD researches on their shrines, their rituals, their daily lives, their cultural heritage, tangible and intangible. And that's helped us. And for example, the most holy place of the Yazidis for pilgrimage is called Dlshad. Fortunately, under the Kurdish authorities will not face destruction. And now it's like open museum. Yearly, many university students, school students go to there and visit the rituals, everything. In Erbil, we have the Cultural Heritage Museum of the Syriac, who are the Eastern Christians. So we have this beautiful museum about their textile, costumes, and anything that inherited from tangible and intangible, the stories, everything, and the manuscripts. Besides, there's also anything for their daily life in the last centuries. So they kept here, and it's one of the beautiful museums in the city. So luckily, the local communities, the minorities, also supporting, preserving their cultural heritage, and also the authorities do this, and also the rest of archaeologists do the same thing. Yes.
But are there any challenges you encounter when working directly with communities from your experience?
Sure. It's when every time, everywhere, when we have minority and majority, in some time it's hard the majority to understand how the minority look at the majority, how the minority look at the minority. So both groups are, in some cases, not fully open to each other. So in this case, for example, especially when you want to, for example, digitize the intangible cultural heritage, the stories, and also sometimes the details of ritual practices. So sometimes the small minorities, religious minorities, they prefer to be closet, to not show details. Yeah.
You are a professor, I didn't say that, but you are a professor at the University of Sulaimani. You teach archaeological heritage, and you said earlier that somehow the heritage from minority communities are somehow represented in the university curricula. But you think, could you do, are any gaps you think it should be addressed in a way, or how can you improve this representation in a way if there's room to improve?
Yeah, I mean, when we study archaeology in Kurdistan, also in Iraq, also in the Middle East, generally they divide chronologically archaeology in two phases: ancient archaeology and Islamic archaeology. When we say Islamic archaeology as a period, as a time space, not only studying the mosques, palaces of the Muslim. No. When we say Islamic archaeology, for example, any Christianity not under the Roman Byzantine period, it's go to the Islamic period. So, for example, we study when we have classes, courses about Islamic architecture as a period. Also, beside the mosques, the churches, synagogues being studied and also being teaching. And luckily, we have a diverse program for this. But also, I do prefer to have a specific program about, for example, cultural heritage, tangible and intangible of the minorities. But also we have our colleagues who says, because we are people still, and also in the past, not feeling separated from each other. Why we make this separation? Because when we say this goes above the minorities, so we have colleagues who are from these minorities, not prefer to call it minority. And that's one of the things that still we do not have a specific program for them. Because the definition, we are all working in this field, but not everybody agree that calling them minority because of the description of majority. Interestingly, that I tell you, we are Kurdish from the Iraqi part. So calling Kurdish minority of Iraq. But when we came to the Kurdish region, we are majority and we have many minorities there. So sometimes when they call us minority, not feeling, it's like...
Do you think there's a better word that could be used? Another concept that should be applied?
Yeah, it's not like...
How should we address this?
Yeah.
I understand this is not consensual.
Yeah.
How should we, from your point of view, address groups? Should we call it groups? Should we, I don't know.
Yeah, we can call diversity, cultural heritage. Yeah, something like this. Mm-hmm. Communities with diverse cultural heritage, something like this. Yeah, it's not, we as archaeologists also professionals in field of cultural heritage, all of us, we have to think about a term. It's not a single word. I cannot say a word. So but still it's ongoing, and in every language we have this. Yeah, but when sometimes the minorities are not feeling good with this word actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we are working together in project transition. In your view, how can this project transition, somehow contribute to the preservation of heritage in the Kurdistan region of Iraq? How it might somehow support or transform a heritage teaching education in the region? How can project transition help somehow?
Yeah, when this project started, we realized as archaeologists that also other peoples around the world, especially from your university and also our Italian colleagues who are also working together. But now, after years of discussion and exchanging ideas, that we realized that we need to reshape our thinking about making more visible this program. For working on cultural heritage of minorities and diversity groups in a way to be more visible. Because as I said, when we teach architecture, we teach mosques, churches, synagogues, and their architectural features, details, planning, things like this. But now we realize that we need to shed light more on minorities, not because we are neglected this part, but to link it with our institutes around the world, how they study to see the methodology and compare and reshape rearrange our methodology of teaching. Yeah. And the good thing also of this program is, which is also partly we did it, but how to make this program work for the communities outside university, outside institutes, academic institutes, how affect the stakeholders, authorities. Yeah, so mixed group of the community from different levels, there are diverse groups to work together on preserving cultural heritage. Because it's not only teaching it or studying it, it's preserving it. So we have to work more. I mean, for example, documentation is good, digitizing is necessary, but how we digitize it academically and to compare it, for example, our institutes who have more experience in this. So this is also the good benefits of this project. We learned a lot from this. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you'd like to know more, you'll find some useful links in the episode description. Until next time, thank you for listening.